If you're pursuing something that isn't important to you, it can actually make you really unhappy. I was doing the safe route and I wasn't listening to my heart and my gut, and it was making me mentally and physically unwell.
On today's episode, Talk to Vicky, RHN, a total approach to wellness. This one will be a little different. I am joined by Kate Maguire, president of CLM Health, a distributing company of natural health products. CLM Health has associated themselves with some outstanding brands. Some of these brands you may recognize: Alimax, Allison, True Niagen, NAD, and Nutravite, a pain relief joint cream. Now, with this episode, I wanted to highlight how Kate transitioned from corporate to starting her own business, taking a risk, learning along the way, reinventing herself, and following her passion. My goal and my hope with this episode is to encourage you to follow your passion. Now, it doesn't have to be a big altering transition like Kate's, but it's so important to listen to that inner voice to bring joy and fulfillment into your life. So take a moment to listen to Kate's story, then let me know in the comments what brings you joy and fulfillment, and what do you feel is holding you back. Now, don't forget, all the information and links are in the show notes. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talk to Vicky, a total approach to wellness. My next guest's wellness journey started in her 20s when conventional medicine fell short of addressing her health concerns. So she began to explore alternative options. Guided by her naturopath, Kate transformed her life and became committed to helping others do the same. Leaving the corporate world behind at 27 years of age, Kate Maguire built a successful nationwide distribution company in the natural products industry. Kate is a dynamic entrepreneur, devoted mom, and passionate advocate for natural health. Today, with over 20 plus years of experience, she champions self-advocacy and open conversations in healthcare. So happy to have you join me today, Kate. So welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So Kate is the president of CLM Health, and I want you to tell our audience how you transitioned from corporate to starting your own distribution company, CLM Health.
Well, it's funny when you say corporate because what I left, I don't know what the word is for it. I was actually in the world of politics, believe it or not. I was working at the Ontario legislature for the chief government whip. And then I went on to work for the minister of, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting now which minister it was, but I was his press secretary. And I've even forgotten now
Oh,
what cabinet, what post
you
he
left
had.
that world behind.
That's how long ago it is. Well, and I was incredibly unhappy. My degree and interest, my personal interest is actually in politics. I am fascinated by politics. I love to read all about politics. I mean, everything going on right now in Ottawa is crazy. So, politics has always been in my blood, and I was educated in history and politics. And I went to work in it, but what I found was how unhappy I was in it. I wasn't an elected official. I was there as a staffer, a political staffer. It was an exciting environment, but it was not the right environment for me. And I actually would go so far to say that any person that's in the wrong environment, it can actually make you quite sick. And I started to really feel not well. And I went to see my regular medical doctor, who was fantastic. She's fantastic. I would still be with her if I still lived in Toronto. And I told her, what was going on with me and how unwell I was feeling. And when I say unwell, it was really mental. Like I just wasn't coping well with life. I was 27 and everything just seemed overwhelming. I was incredibly unhappy. It actually narrowed down to the job I was in and what I was doing and what I was pursuing. And I think that that's also important for people to recognize too. If you're pursuing something that isn't important to you, it can actually make you really unhappy. I was doing the safe route and I wasn't listening to my heart and my gut, and it was making me mentally and physically unwell. So my medical doctor immediately said I should take some time off work, and also said I fit into the category of anxiety and depression. And that was fascinating to me because the answer really at that point was only medication and pharmaceuticals. And I just thought there has to be another way because I've got a problem, but I can't imagine taking pills to fix my problem. There's got to be something else here. So I said to her, I know that there are naturopathic doctors, and this is now 24 years ago. Maybe I could go see a naturopathic doctor. And I think I was really fortunate because she said, well, my sister-in-law is a naturopathic doctor. And if you'd like to go see her, you could go see her. I went to see her, and I just would say the rest is history
Yeah.
because it sent me on a completely different path for health and wellness. Whatever was going on was history within a year of working with a naturopath. It wasn't fixed by a pill, it was fixed by natural health. And for me, that was so life-changing because it could have gone one way and instead it went another. And the other way, I felt it's so important that the world needed to know that there are other options for health. That thank God for our medical system and our medical doctors, but you need to pursue as many options for yourself and speak to as many people as you can because there can be other choices out there rather than just a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't depressed and I wasn't anxious. I was really just dealing with life. And so, you know, a year later, I had decided that because I felt so passionate about natural health, that that was an area I should work in. And it all made sense to me. Like everything else I've been trying to do was like trying to push that boulder up the hill. Once I knew that talking to people about natural health, getting into the industry, speaking to people like you, speaking to other naturopathic doctors, talking to sales reps in the industry, that was the place I needed to be. So it was just very funny because one day I decided to call my naturopath and I said, you know, I know there's pharmaceutical sales reps. Are there natural health sales reps? And she said, I can't believe you're calling me today. And it was one of those crazy circumstances where she had a good friend out east who was launching an omega-3 fish oil. And this was back in the very early days. I'm sure you know NutriC. And there was 2 partners out in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and I met up with them, and they were fantastic. They needed sales. They needed their product to get into stores. They needed someone to champion the product. And I had used omega-3s as well in my natural health journey.
Recovery, yes.
And this was also when they were just kind of exploding. I think a book had come out at the time called Omega Zone. And we just connected. One guy was the science guy. The other gal was a naturopathic doctor. I said to them, look, I'm going to set up the sales structure. Let's go. And off we went. 9 years later, that was built into a $20 million brand.
Yeah,
It was
nationwide for sure.
Yeah. And now it's huge. I mean, they
Yes.
sold eventually to, I've forgotten who they sold
Nature's
to.
Way.
Nature's Way.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that because you're not in love with yourself anymore. You're just going through the motions of your daily job and task. And so you're not in love with yourself and you're dreading going to your job every day. And then it plays on your mind like, what am I doing this for? And I am so glad you made that transition that, you know, sometimes a light bulb goes off, but you made that transition because, yeah, this wouldn't have happened.
I wasn't around healthy people. And I think
That
that
too. It's a
people need
very
to-
toxic environment.
it's a toxic environment.
Yeah.
Like there were great people in the environment, but
Yep.
you know, I had someone there that really, I actually left there,
Yes.
and the way he would comment on the things I was doing for him would be like, oh, you know, I'd spend a couple hours learning a new task with someone had come in to teach me. He'd say, well, you don't look any smarter.
Oh
You know,
gosh.
just
Yeah.
constant negativity.
Yes.
And when you're
Yes.
young as well, and I think it's really important for young people to realize that, like, you can be a yes person because you're trying to get somewhere in your life. People can really grind you down when we're in those environments and we feel like we don't have any other options or we're scared to take the step.
Yes.
You really need to believe in yourself. You need to take a moment and just go like, what am I made of? I've got
Mhm.
something. I'm not gonna be pushed down anymore, and I've
Yes.
gotta go
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've gotta show my worth, what
Yes.
it is
Yeah.
to me,
Yes.
and I need to go and take my skills somewhere
Mhm.
and use those skills. So I think
Yeah.
people really need to have an honest conversation about what they're good at. Everyone's good at something, and what they love,
Mhm. Mhm.
and put those 2 together. I remember having that conversation with myself. What am I good at? Well, I'm good at talking with people. I love talking
Yeah.
to people. And what do I love? I love health. I loved yoga. I loved learning about supplements. I loved all that. So there's got to be a way to marry these 2.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And I
Yeah,
think
and I want to
Mhm.
encourage our listeners too in regards to that. Like, seek out what you're passionate about and don't let others beat you up with words. Love
Yeah,
yourself again.
and
And I'm
yeah,
glad you stepped out of that at 27. That's young to launch out in what you've done. So kudos to you. I'm so glad that you made that transition because look what you've created about or what we're creating. And like you said, taking a risk.
Mhm.
And we need to do that sometimes, but you have to check everything first.
Mhm.
But have, like you said, have that conversation with yourself. I just want to jump into CLM Health though, because
Sure.
as you transitioned and
Mhm.
you represented this great brand, but then you transitioned again into being your own distribution
Mhm.
company,
Mhm.
and you have some outstanding brands, and I love them all. Ali Max is Allison, so it's
Mhm.
sort of the medicinal part of garlic.
Mhm.
True Niagen, NAD, so
Mhm.
that is becoming very popular right now, and Nutravite,
Mhm.
which is a pain relief joint cream. So just touch on these, and you have other brands as well that you're
Mhm.
representing, but we're just going to touch on these 3 just
Sure.
for time's sake, but as
Mhm.
I said, True Niagen is
Yeah.
very popular right now,
True
especially with the
Niagen's
aging population.
Yeah. True Niagen's really interesting. It's a form of B3, nicotinamide riboside, big fancy word. It always makes me sound like I'm smarter than I am. And I always say my degree is in political science, not science. But I learn enough to know something good when I see it. So True Niagen, they've done extremely well just in the US. Their marketing has been excellent. They've been able to get a lot of big names on side to understand and use the product. It's been able to a lot of teams have been using it, sports
Mm,
teams, increases energy. It also helps stabilize NAD levels, which decrease in our 40s and 50s, which is connected to our energy level, our sleep, our youth.
I think a lot of people use it for memory though. Think
You
a
would know
lot.
because in your
Yes.
store,
Yes.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, you would know what people
That's
are
why
coming
people
in
are
for it.
using it for just the synapses, right? To
Yeah.
fire up, but I
Mhm.
find people are coming in for memory, not so
I've
much
had so much pe
energy.
Yeah, and sometimes people have told me that they, like, sleep better using
Hmm.
it, which is funny
Okay.
because if you think you're using it and it's gonna help with your energy levels, but then it's not a
Yeah.
stimulant, right?
Yes.
So, it's just overall health. We don't like to think of it as an anti-aging product, but it's
Mhm.
something that certainly, as you're aging,
Mhm.
it's helping with those NAD levels, which are in a nice free fall in our
Mhm.
40s and
Mhm.
50s.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that product's been doing extremely well in Canada and the US and continues to grow year over year.
Yes. So another product, we're just touching on products today,
Yeah.
is Nutravite. I have a flyer here, Nutravite joint cream. And what I like about it, it has glucosamine in it, MSM, turmeric, devil's claw, frankincense, all like
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory, but the
It's a unique
glucosamine is very unique.
Yeah, it's a unique ingredient profile. And the other thing, I mean, what I love about Nutravite is it has been around for a while, and I would call it the steady Eddie. People repeatedly buy this product
Mhm.
because it works.
Mhm.
That ache in their joints. My husband has had a little bit of arthritis in his joints. And he's used it and said, "It's remarkable. It
Mhm.
works right
Mhm.
away." So it's able to get right into the transdermal layer and all those wonderful ingredients like the glucosamine, MSM, the turmeric, everything. It gets in there and does what it needs to do. So we've seen steady increases in growth with that product, buyers, repeat purchasers
Mhm.
because it works. And it
Mhm.
lasts a long time too. So,
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
get really good value. for what
Yes.
they pay for it.
Yes. And having that extra glucosamine, like a lot of people are taking pills for
Mhm,
glucosamine, but just having that extra, like you said, transdermal
mhm,
is always beneficial.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other product we're going to talk about is Max, and we both were talking before the show about anecdotal situations with the product, but Max is amazing, amazing product, and the people, like, at my store that come in, they're faithful to it, and they're coming and getting it every,
Mhm,
every
mhm,
6 months.
mhm. It's hard because I feel like with all of our products, like,
Mhm.
everyone needs to know about these products
Yes,
because
yes.
they do so much, and at CLM, that is something that we have really focused on over the years is representing unique products that work. Now, that might
Mhm,
sound silly, that work,
mhm,
but this is really important to us, that people see the benefit, they feel the benefit.
mhm,
We don't take on a lot of products. We vet so many products. Products come in front of us on a weekly basis.
mhm. No,
And
I like
we,
that.
yeah, and we really, really spend a lot of time reviewing and getting to know the product and making sure it works. So, Max is something that I've been working with for a long time. And the unique thing about Max is that it's stabilized allicin. And as you said earlier, allicin is the part in garlic that has all the antifungal and antibacterial and antiviral benefits.
Mhm,
Garlic as a whole doesn't smell like anything. It's just that wonderful, cute little bulb that we get when we pick up at the grocery store.
mhm.
But once you actually cut and crush a garlic clove, there's a chemical
Yes,
reaction that
yeah,
takes place, right? And
yes.
these two parts in garlic come together to form allicin.
Mhm,
One is an enzyme and one is an amino acid. One is called allinase and the other one's called aline. And when
mhm.
those two come together, boom, they make allicin. And allicin's actually the part that smells in garlic,
Mhm,
right? So that's when you know you've made some allicin. And you may have heard, like I found whenever I was talking about Max and allicin years ago, a lot of people would have stories about their grandmother and using
mhm.
garlic and drinking it down with a bit of milk for a sore throat. Or in World War I and World War II, garlic was used as Russia's penicillin when they
Mhm.
didn't have antibiotic drugs for open wounds. One person told me about their grandmother hoarded a whole load of garlic during the Spanish flu
Mm,
because, everyone was afraid kind of like of COVID, right?
sure.
Getting
Yes.
infected. So garlic's got a rich history to fight infection.
Yes.
One of the really cool things I found out about garlic years ago was before the advent of pesticides, farmers used to use garlic and plant it in between their crops
Mm,
to fight off pests. When foreign invaders would try to attack the crops, they would break into the garlic and that would cause that reaction to happen and
right.
produce allicin, and
Yes.
allicin would give off the scent and fight off the pests.
Yes.
So we know it's a natural pesticide.
Mhm,
And what's really cool about Max is that the developers were able to capture the actual allicin
mhm.
and put it into a capsule, which makes it a lot easier than chomping on a bunch of raw garlic and trying to swallow some raw garlic, which can really burn.
Well, and there's no after effect, or you don't smell like garlic, like you can talk to people and not smell
Yeah,
like garlic, you
people
know?
are worried it's gonna be coming out of their pores or they're gonna be
Yes,
sweating and
yes,
smelly,
yes,
but
yeah,
that's not the
yeah,
case. It's easy to swallow. They're
yeah, they're
small, small
yes,
capsules and
yes.
so, so effective.
And I like how they're packaged, like people traveling this time of year, going south, you can take a little package with you
Mhm.
and keep your immune system strong.
I would never leave home without it.
Yes.
Yeah, because it
Mhm.
just and the amount of stories and people I've met over the years that have been impacted. I had one girl call me before her wedding. She was coming down with something.
Oh, no.
She's like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna be sick for my wedding." I said,
Oh,
like, "Take 5 now, take 5
yeah.
later, and take 5 tonight," right?
Yes. Mhm.
Just move it through, like,
Yeah.
kick the
Kill
cold right
it.
away, get rid of it. Yeah, we've had remarkable stories. We were sending Max down as a donation once a year to Haiti. I don't know if you ever heard
Mm,
about this. I got connected with a lady years ago a Canadian lady who runs 2 schools down in Haiti. And I'm not quite sure where she is now because I know there's been so much unrest there. But
Mhm.
she had one down in the capital and one up in the mountains.
Mm.
She was thrilled every year that we could send her down with a whole bunch of Max.
Mhm.
But one year she wrote me a letter to tell me that they had decided to give one school the Max and one school did not have it. And that year, the one school that did not have it had like 18 cases of cholera.
Mm.
So she just had to tell me because she said, "We just had
It
to make
makes
that
a
connection."
difference. It
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, historically, garlic, if you trace the history of garlic, it goes all the way back to the Egyptian times, where the
Mhm.
Egyptian pyramid builders were fed a clove of garlic a day
Yes.
to fight infection.
Mhm.
It's documented it was used against scorpion
Yeah.
bites.
Yeah.
Dioscorides, the founder of the modern pharmacy, wrote about it in all of his botany books about
Yeah.
garlic's ability to kill
Yeah,
infection.
I know. It's going back to basics too.
It
Like
is.
garlic, just
Yeah.
Allison, like garlic.
So people like that's the thing with natural health. It's now it's 24 years that I've been in natural health, but back in
Mhm.
the earlier days,
Mhm.
it was this alternative, strange,
Yes.
area of
Yeah.
health.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
what's amazing, what people don't understand is that this industry has always been ahead of the curve.
Mhm.
Like probiotics
Mhm.
24 years ago were a thing in our industry,
Yes.
but you never heard about them in the mainstream.
No.
And people taking antibiotics. I had back surgery, and I remember overhearing the doctor talk to a person in the bed, the curtain over from me, about the antibiotics and that they should start taking some probiotics. And when I first started, it was like it was this
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
fringe group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, doctors would challenge you like, "Oh, where did you get" they always say, "Did you Google that?" or and so on. But
Right.
it's amazing how it has now made its way into the mainstream, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, even like vitamin D now and magnesium, doctors are recommending that. Like, and that's what I'm seeing, they never used to do that before.
Mhm, mhm.
So, yeah, and vitamin D helps for immune system.
First, science projects I did when I was a kid was actually on vitamin C and how it cured scurvy.
Yeah, yeah. I took over my health food store in 2017. And so every year I do a fundraiser for it's called Essential Aids. And and all it is for babies and toddlers, food, diapers, whatever their needs are. Because moms can't go to a food bank and get Kraft Dinner for their toddler or their babies. They have to
Mhm.
have certain foods. And I called out to all my suppliers, would you like to donate? You guys, CLM Health, were so generous. You had
Oh.
donate cotton diapers, like a whole bunch of cotton diapers, nursing pads, wipes. Like, I was so impressed by that, and
I
yeah,
remember that actually.
so every year in November, I try to support this organization because when you're talking about stress and everything else, moms right now, especially with small children, it's difficult, right? And
Mhm.
just looking after themselves, they will go without to make sure their children have what they need. So thank you. I want to thank you for
Well,
that.
thank you for what you do. I was just talking with my family the other day at breakfast, and I said, what my ultimate goal and what I would love to do once I feel that I've established enough in my business life and I have that time on my side
Mhm.
is to help women and children of abused homes. And I said I had this like vision, I guess, of opening and creating an environment where women could go that are struggling.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
amazing that you're doing something like that already.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's totally what I
Yeah.
would love to
Yeah.
do.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just going back to your introduction about self-advocacies, and
Mhm.
open conversations about healthcare. And healthcare is not just physical, it's also mental and going with, supporting women struggling in whatever their situation is. We're seeing it more and more today. So yeah, no, this has been a great conversation. And Kate, I am so happy to be talking to you today. And I'm so happy for, the vision you have for the future. And you're going to be doing more podcasts and YouTube videos, just
Mhm.
educating individuals on natural health care. So I'm kudos to you and good for you.
Well, thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything that you're doing, and this world of natural health is really important that people know about it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it's really important that people look after themselves because the only thing that they truly will ever own in their whole entire life is their own body and mind,
That's right. Yes.
and so it's their duty to take care of it and use it
Mhm.
to its fullest potential and
Mhm.
to love it, and I'm just happy that I've been able to spend all these years being in that type of environment, being around people that believe in those things too. And good
Mhm.
for you for starting your podcast as well and getting the information out for
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
because it's
Yeah.
it's expensive too to be able to get the information. So if we can provide free information
Mhm.
and they can start to open the book, do the
Mhm.
research for
Mhm.
themselves, that's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's all about educating. And that's why I started this podcast because there's a lot of misinformation. And, I'm partnering it with key educators like yourself, to try to mitigate some of that
Mhm,
misinformation. And I'll have to tell you, like people coming in the store, and saying, "Oh, I heard this on a social media platform. Can I do
mhm,
this? Can I do
mhm.
that?" And I just shake my head sometimes because it's
No.
like, don't complicate it. You
Yeah.
don't need to complicate it. Start with the basics. Like we said, Ali Mac, start with the
Mhm.
basics,
Yeah.
and then build from there. Listen to your body. What's your body saying? Anyway, I will let you go. And thank you for joining me today. Thank you for all this wonderful information. And thank you, listeners. And we will see you on the next episode. Thank you.